to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Razaban IFL TV proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in Paris, France with me. Yeah. Spencer, Oliver Spencer, what are you doing in this part of the world?
The boy band's on tour, mate. The boy band's on tour. No, we're here to see Dan Azeez capture the European light heavyweight title, and yeah, really looking forward to it.
I know you've been there for a couple of days, but how things been? Been up to much?
No, do you know what? We arrived last night, so I haven't really seen too much of Paris, if I'm totally honest. Weather ain't been too good. Weather's been quite poor. But yeah, I'm just here looking forward to this show. You know, Tony Yoka trying to get back onto the winning run after that loss to Martin Bakole, that big shock to Martin Bakole, to be fair. And he's got Carlos Takam. That's a good fight because we know Takam always brings it. Yes, he falls up short against top-level opponents, but that's a good fight, man. And yeah, it's a good fight for Yoka to get back into it, but mainly for Dan Azeez to see him winning that European title. Do you know what I love about Dan Azeez? He's one of those old-school fighters that has done it on the road. Do you know what I mean? He's done it in other people's backyards. He's won Southern Area, English, British, Commonwealth. Now he's going for the European. Like, I respect that. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, he's travelled into his opponent's backyard. Thomas Four, who's a seasoned campaigner. You know, he's a tough guy. He's tall, rangy, and he'll make things tough for Dan. But I think Dan's going to pull off a good victory, and that puts him right up there, man. There's some big fights out there right now. You know, Dan Azeez is number 2 in the WBA. Number 1 is Joshua Buatsi. That's a fight we'd love to see. We've got Anthony Yard. He's putting in that good fight against, good performance, against Beterbiev. You know, there's some big names out there at light heavyweight at the moment. Craig Richards is there, still hovering around. So, yeah, looking forward to Dan winning this fight and then seeing where it takes him from there. But yeah, exciting times.
Good experience for Dan to go on the road and win a major title at the European belt.
Yeah, definitely, man. It is a major belt. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think it's great that that he's confident enough to come into his opponent's backyard and challenge for that title. Yeah, it tells you a lot about his character. You know, he's teamed up with Buddy McGirt now. He's been training out in sunny Florida, so he's going to get a little shock when he comes over to Paris. It's cold over here at the moment, mate, really cold. So yeah, no, I think it's a great experience. You know, it sets him up nicely. It's all about that development stage and about going on and challenging and winning world titles. I mean, no one would have thought that when Dan Azeez turned pro. You know, no real credentials to say, yeah, this kid's going to be the next light heavyweight champion of the world, but now he's sort of like, knocking on the door, and you can see that he's got that big opportunity. You know, he's improved massively, Dan. He's a tough guy to beat. He's like, he's a little bit like his idol, Marvin Hagler, where he sort of like he comes forward, educated pressure, he swarms over his opponents and looks to grind them down. You know, he's got an unbelievable engine, an unbelievable work rate, and I think that will see him victorious against Thomas Four, who's like very tall, 6'1", 6'2", tall, rangy, not a big puncher. So stylistically, I think Four fits the bill for Dan to put in a great performance and, like I say, set up some of those big fights that we want to see. There's some big names out there at light heavyweight at the moment. There really is. Not forgetting, like your, not just Beterbievs, but Bivens, yeah, my brain went dead then. Yeah, Beterbiev, you got Bivol, and then, like I say, all the British guys as well.
We'll look forward to a great night of boxing on Sky Sports tomorrow night, hit live from Paris. Just on some other news, Spencer, just want to get your thoughts. Earlier this week, Monday, Conor Benn did an interview with Piers Morgan. He made it very clear this was the only interview he was going to do and no further interviews. I'm sure you've seen it. Just want to kind of get your reaction to what you saw, what you heard, and your thoughts after that.
Didn't really take anything from it, if I'm totally honest. I thought that we may have got some answers that needed answering. And I think the most important question that was thrown to Conor Benn actually from Piers Morgan was, why don't you present your evidence? You say you've proved your innocence, present your evidence to the British Boxing Board of Control, plain and simple, clear this mess up so that you can move on with your career. But You know, he said, "Oh, the British Boxing Board can do one," which tells you what. So you've obviously not got the evidence you need to clear your name with the British Boxing Board of Control. He did also say in that interview, you know, he mentioned in that interview, he said, "Well, maybe it might have been contamination from some food that was put into my body." Well, you're responsible for what goes in your body, and I think that's why the evidence might be not strong enough for the British Boxing Board of Control. Who knows why he won't present that evidence? But you know, I think that until he does that, you know, the water's always going to be murky, and so if he's not going to do it, you know, he's always going to be judged on, you know, on this whole situation. So didn't really take anything from it, if I'm totally honest, because I don't think it was. I wouldn't have advised him to do that interview. I don't think he was prepared enough. I don't think the answers were strong enough. And at times he looked very uncomfortable. So, yeah, it was not the greatest interview, if I'm honest.
I was going to say, did that interview do more harm, or did it work out in Conor's favour?
Well, I think it was one of those interviews, wasn't it? If you were sitting on the fence and you had any doubts about anything, you'd have probably leant the other way and thought, well, he's not proving his innocence. And, you know, we're in a situation now with Conor where he's got to that stage where he has to go, well, if you've got the evidence, mate, now go and clear your name up. Because, you know, like, you know, he's gone from being, you know, one of the most loved fighters in British boxing, you know, and I was, you know, I was his biggest fan, like, you know, talking about, you know, his improvements, how he's going on and how he's developing and what a lovely kid he is and all that. And it's sort of like this has all been, you know, this last 6 months has been a nightmare for, you know, for him. And I totally understand that. So if you've got that evidence, mate, just present it, because otherwise it's not going away, you know, and the public, you know, not going to accept it. So yeah, until then, but I think he'll choose to go down a different route and not present his evidence. So, you know, it's always going to remain as it is. So I don't think we'll see him boxing on British soil for the foreseeable future. I think that we may see Abu Dhabi. We're talking about, I saw Eddie Hearn talking about June, possibly against Pacquiao. Chris Eubank Jr.'s name might even be there. Kell Brooks, another name that could be in the mix as well. So yeah, to see what happens. But yeah, I just don't think that interview done him any favours at all. I don't think he should have done it, because he couldn't give us the answers that we needed to hear.
I know Eddie's done a couple of interviews yesterday where he's been quite, you know, passionate and he's honest that, listen, I want to put this behind us and move forward. But can you really put this behind you and move forward?
Raz, that's what I'm saying. The only way that you can put this behind you and move forward is by giving that evidence to the British Boxing Board of Control and clearing your name. The WBC, that doesn't mean anything from them, and they made up their own mind. The WBC got that 270-page dossier and they looked at it and they acted as a defence, because they went, oh, well, perhaps it was your food, perhaps it was the eggs. You know, perhaps have you been eating too much eggs in your diet? So you go, well, mate, that's like, do you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's not enough. It's not strong enough. WBC made up their own mind, but like I say, they're not a governing body. So, you know, it's just, you know, it is what it is. And until he clears his name with the British Boxing Board of Control, you know, his name's never going to get cleared.
I know you're sick and tired of this, so, you know, we'll just wait to see what further developments happen, Spence. Yeah. But before I let you go, we were all hoping to see Fury Usyk, this undisputed fight that I've been waiting for a long, long time. We tried to do it with Joshua and Wilder in the past. It didn't happen. And it looks like, from what we're hearing and what we're seeing, that Usyk and Fury is going to collapse, and that's also not going to take place.
Yep, I don't see it taking place. I see it taking place possibly later in the year, after the summer maybe, but April 29th is looking very doubtful. Frank Warren said a couple of days ago on TalkSport Frank Warren said a couple of days ago on TalkSport that Friday was the final day, the deadline day. We're not going to get the answers today, that's for sure. I think that negotiations broke down in late January. I think the Saudis, they presented each fighter with different offers. Usyk accepted his offer. Tyson Fury felt that the money wasn't right in that there. So then we ended up at Wembley, and this was going to be. Fury's Alex Krasak, he was saying 60-40 split. The winner takes 60, loser takes 40. I thought that's a fair deal, mate. That's a great way of getting this undisputed on the line. But Fury wasn't happy with that either. So, yeah, so I think the negotiations are ongoing, but we ain't going to see that fight on April 29th.
Spence, from what you've taken from that interview with Frank Warren on TalkSport, and Simon Jordan said to him that ultimately Fury, who's spoken about he'll fight for free and give tickets for free and make it available for free, ultimately Fury's now saying the opposite to what he has said in the past.
Yeah, listen, I think that Fury, you know, I know that he wants to get as much money as possible, and I know that that's what it is. It's called prize fighting, and I totally understand it. But at the same time, we're talking about legacy here, right? And you have to mop up all of your era. You have to box all the fighters in your era to create and cement that legacy, right? So Tyson Fury is respected as the outstanding number one of the heavyweight division right now, but he has to box, for me, Alexander Usyk, and he has to box Anthony Joshua as well. And I think once you've done that, and if he wins those fights, then you go, well, look, you've cemented your legacy. But this Usyk fight, is I think the breakdown's really caused from Fury not happy with the terms that are put on the table, but there's only a certain amount of money in the pot. And that's all you can do. Like, do you know what I mean? You can only present the money that's in the pot. Fury's obviously not happy with that. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it and what sort of money's being offered and what sort of money's on the table. But if he's talking about legacy, take the fight, because the fight's there. Team Usyk want the fight. They're ready to sign a deal. So, yeah, let's just see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next week or so.
We know Fury had that great victory in Germany over Klitschko. He beat Wilder, and people will, as much as Wilder punches hard, and if you look at Wilder's record, people will argue that his record isn't the greatest for a heavyweight fighter. But would Fury ultimately be judged on the fights with the premium heavyweights such as Usyk and Joshua? And if he fails to fight them, is his legacy not in tatters, but is his legacy questionable?
Well, no, yeah, because it's all about modern eras, and it's about boxing. If you go back to your Ali, Foreman, Frasers, and all those type of guys, they all boxed each other, and that's how you create, legacies. And so we need that here, and fights have fallen through. We thought we was going to get Fury Joshua even at the back end of last year, in December sort of time. Out of nowhere, we thought we was going to get that, and unfortunately, we didn't get that. But we need that for the future, for their future, and how they're seen as fighters.
Spencer, I believe the weigh-in's about to start shortly, so appreciate it a bit of time. We will catch up again probably tomorrow. So yeah, let's enjoy the weigh-in fight night, and Viva Paris.
Absolutely, mate. It's a really unusual weigh-in thing here as well, isn't it? It's a room. I got to say, the room's like the size of a small front room, really, and it's like there's people piling in from everywhere. So yeah, it's a strange one, but yeah, let's go.
We are getting dirty loose because everyone's trying to get us.
Yeah, here we go. We're in Paris. Let's go.
Spencer Oliver, IFL TV. Thank you very much.